What if everything you've been told about how to keep a woman's love is wrong? What if the very act of clinging, of giving her everything, of proving your devotion, is the fastest way to lose her respect? Carl Jung once warned that where love reigns, there is no will to power. Where power predominates, love is lacking. He wasn't just speaking about politics or society, but about the most intimate arena of human life, the relationship between man and woman. For Jung, love without strength is fragile, and strength without freedom is impossible. And here lies the dark truth. A woman only respects the man who can walk away. From childhood, men are raised inside a dangerous illusion. Stories, songs, and modern culture teach them that women want endless devotion. That the man who never questions her, who never threatens to leave, is the one who wins her heart forever. But reality shatters this lie. Because when a man gives everything without condition, when he becomes dependent on her presence, she doesn't feel gratitude. Instead, she feels disappointment. Respect cannot survive in dependence. A woman instinctively tests to see if a man is bound by her or if he belongs first to himself. These tests are not malicious. They're unconscious signals reaching back to human history. They ask one question: is this man strong enough to walk alone? When he cannot, when his fear of losing her outweighs his sense of self, she sees what no man wants her to see: that he is weak, and weakness kills desire faster than betrayal ever could. Think of the men history remembers. Leaders, creators, warriors. They could love deeply, but they were never defined by a woman's approval. They loved because they chose to, not because they needed to, and if love demanded they betray themselves, they walked away. That is why their presence commanded both respect and devotion. This doesn't mean a man should play games or turn cold or weaponize indifference. The point is simpler, but far more brutal. If you cannot walk away, you are no longer free. And if you are not free, your love loses its weight. A man who can walk away may lose her body, but a man who cannot walk away will lose her soul, and she will never respect him again. Think about the countless modern stories we see played out in the spotlight. A man rises to fame, adored for his talent, his discipline, his success. Then he meets a woman he thought would complete him. In his devotion, he gives her everything: his time, his money, his loyalty, even his very identity. He abandons his friends, his mission, his individuality. He becomes the man who lives only to please her. And then comes the inevitable shift. The woman who once looked at him with admiration begins to look at him with disappointment. The man who once commanded rooms now begs for scraps of affection. The strength that first attracted her has dissolved into dependency. And though she may not even fully understand why, her respect for him begins to fade. This is not just celebrity gossip. It is a psychological pattern Jung understood well. The man who lives entirely for the woman, who erases himself in the name of devotion, loses the one thing she unconsciously desires most: his strength. Love without freedom becomes dependence, and dependence breeds contempt. She may accept his gifts, his time, his loyalty, but deep down, she knows he has abandoned himself. And no woman can respect a man who abandons himself. Look at history. Look at modern culture. How many great men have fallen into this trap? Athletes who lose their edge after sacrificing everything to prove love. Musicians who write songs of undying devotion only to be betrayed. Businessmen who build empires only to hand their crown away in desperate loyalty. The story repeats itself endlessly because men refuse to learn the dark truth. Giving everything does not earn respect. It destroys it. Jung's warning makes the tragedy clear. A man who cannot walk away has already lost, because his love is no longer a gift, but a plea. And a plea, no matter how heartfelt, is never respected. What makes a man's love powerful is not that he cannot live without her, but that he chooses to live with her even though he could walk away at any moment. That freedom is what keeps respect alive. The man in our story thought devotion would complete him. Instead, it broke him. He confused sacrifice with strength, when in reality strength is the ability to remain whole even when in love. and once he gave her everything but himself, he lost both her respect and his own dignity. This is the silent agony of countless men today, not only in the spotlight, but in ordinary homes, in quiet relationships, in marriages where a man is tolerated but never admired, because he gave everything except the one thing she truly needed, his unshakable independence. And that is why she will always respect the man who can walk away, and never the man who begs to stay. Every man has felt it, though few ever name it. You're in a relationship, things seem stable, and then suddenly, she challenges you. Sometimes it's small, a sarcastic remark, a demand that feels unreasonable, a sudden withdrawal of affection. Other times it's bigger, questioning your direction, pushing against your boundaries, or even threatening to leave. Most men panic when this happens. They rush to smooth things over, to prove their devotion, to do whatever it takes to restore peace. But in doing so, they fail the very test she unconsciously set before them. Jung understood that much of human behavior is driven by forces beneath awareness, instincts, archetypes, shadows. And one of those instincts is the woman's drive to test the man she is with. Not out of malice, not out of cruelty, but out of a deep, unconscious need. She needs to know whether the man beside her is strong enough to stand without her, whether he will sacrifice his essence for comfort or hold his ground for truth. When she pulls away emotionally, she isn't always trying to leave. When she challenges your decisions, she isn't always trying to undermine you. She is feeling for the borders of your strength, searching for the edge of your independence. If she finds no edge at all, if she finds a man who caves at the slightest resistance, she loses what she didn't even know she was looking for: respect. This is the cruel paradox most men never understand. They think the way to win her heart is to always agree, always comply, always prioritize her above all else. And in the short term, this may bring temporary peace. But deep in her psyche, she sees what has happened. He has chosen comfort over courage, her approval over his own integrity, and a woman cannot love a man she does not respect. The truth is simple but brutal. If you cannot stand up to her, you cannot stand up for her. And if you cannot stand up for her, then in her eyes, you are not a man she can trust when the world turns hostile. Respect dies in that moment, quietly but irreversibly. Jung's warning reveals why so many relationships collapse without obvious betrayal. It's not always cheating, not always lies, not always financial failure. Often it is simply that the man failed too many silent tests. He showed her that he could not walk away, that he could not hold his ground, that he would trade his soul just to keep her smile. And in doing so, he lost the very thing he was trying to protect. Every man faces these tests. Some pass without even realizing it, by living with strength rooted in their identity. Others fail repeatedly, until there is nothing left of them but desperation. And the difference between the two is not luck, not charm, not wealth. It is one thing, the ability to walk away if necessary, because only the man who can walk away has anything worth staying for. Look at the world around you today. Everywhere you turn, you see men who have forgotten themselves in their pursuit of women. Men who bend their entire lives around approval, attention, and validation, and then wonder why they are disrespected, divorced, or discarded. Jung's dark warning is not just about individual relationships, it's about the condition of modern man as a whole. In the past, a man's worth was measured by his ability to provide, to protect, to lead. Women respected men because survival itself depended on strength, discipline, and the willingness to walk into danger. A man who could not stand alone had no place in the tribe, and a woman who clung to such a man knew she was gambling with her future. But in today's world, survival is no longer the question. Comfort has replaced necessity, and the old masculine virtues are not demanded by life anymore. Instead, men are told that their highest value lies in how much they can serve, how much they can submit, how endlessly they can devote themselves to female happiness. Popular culture glorifies the obedient, lovesick man who bends over backwards to prove his loyalty. But here's the contradiction. While society praises him, women do not respect him. Look at modern marriage. divorce rates remain high, and the common thread in countless stories is not that the man failed to provide. Many of these men gave everything materially. The problem is deeper. They gave everything but themselves. They stopped leading, stopped growing, stopped maintaining boundaries. They became servants to their wives instead of men beside them, and when the respect was gone, the love followed. This is why so many men today find themselves blindsided. They think betrayal comes from sudden changes, but in truth, it builds slowly. The wife who leaves after 10 years usually began losing respect after year 2. The girlfriend who cheats often lost respect long before the affair. The end is only the symptom. The cause is always the same. He gave up his independence to keep her. Dating culture shows the same truth in faster cycles. Look at the endless chase for attention on apps and social media. Men flood women with messages, compliments, gifts, endless devotion. Yet it is the man who does not beg, the man who seems willing to walk away, who captures her imagination. Not because he plays games, but because his self-respect makes him heir. He does not kneel before the illusion of love. He remains whole within himself, and that is what draws her in. Carl Jung's psychology explains why this pattern is eternal. Women test because unconsciously they need to know the man beside them can hold the weight of life. If he cannot even hold the weight of her moods, her challenges, or her disapproval, how could he stand against the world? How could he protect her, provide stability, or inspire trust? Without that respect, her love cannot last. No matter how much she insists she wants a nice guy who will give her everything. Modern men ignore this truth at their own peril. They believe the cultural lie that women will love them more if they hand over their identity. They confuse devotion with submission. But the truth is merciless. Women may enjoy being served in the moment, but they cannot admire the man who does it endlessly. Admiration and respect only live where freedom remains. Look closer at society, and you'll see the cracks everywhere. Men filing for divorce after decades of being ignored. Fathers losing their place in families because they surrendered leadership. Young men drifting aimlessly, chained to relationships where their value is reduced to compliance. These are not isolated tragedies. They are the collective evidence of Jung's warning. And yet, here is the paradox that makes this so hard to accept. Women themselves may not even consciously understand this dynamic. They may truly believe they want unconditional devotion. But at the level of instinct, they crave the strength of a man who cannot be broken by love, a man whose life does not collapse into hers. That is why so many women stay restless in relationships with weak men. And that is why only the man who can walk away remains respected. Society tells you to give everything. Jung tells you the opposite. Keep yourself first, because without yourself, there is no love, only dependence. And dependence always ends in contempt. The modern world is littered with the ruins of men who never learned this. Don't become one of them. The clock is ticking. What if everything you have built, everything you have loved, and everything you have sacrificed is meaningless because you surrendered yourself first? What if the devotion you believed would earn admiration instead ensures contempt? This is the cruel clarity of Jung's warning. Women do not respect men who abandon their own essence in the name of love. Devotion without freedom is not love. It is weakness, and weakness is always despised. Look at the countless men throughout history, in both the public eye and private life, who have fallen into this trap. The celebrity who poured all his wealth, time, and attention into the woman he adored, only to be dismissed once his independence was gone. The father who sacrificed hobbies, friendships, and ambitions to become the perfect husband, only to watch respect erode quietly over decades. The everyday man who has erased his own identity in pursuit of affection, only to feel a subtle but persistent withdrawal of admiration. The pattern repeats endlessly because the human psyche responds the same way it has for millennia. Jung understood this better than most. He observed that a woman's respect is not a conscious choice, but an instinctive reaction to strength, independence, and self-possession. Women do not respect men who cannot stand without them. They test men unconsciously. through challenges, disagreements, and subtle emotional withdrawals, to see whether a man can preserve his identity even in love. If he cannot, if he bends entirely to please her, respect dies. And when respect dies, love is diminished. It may linger, but it is hollow, transactional, and fleeting. This is why modern culture is so treacherous for men. Society celebrates selflessness, devotion, and the man who prioritizes her happiness above all else. Romantic comedies glorify endless compromise, while social media praises the man who sacrifices his time, ambition, and independence for attention and approval. Yet the paradox is unmistakable. While culture rewards this behavior, psychology punishes it. A man who gives everything but himself is doomed to lose the very thing he hoped to gain: respect, admiration, and authentic connection. Marriage and long-term relationships make this truth painfully clear. Divorce, emotional withdrawal, and fading desire are rarely the result of overt betrayal alone. Often, they are the natural consequence of a man's surrender. He may have provided materially, emotionally, and socially, yet his devotion was empty of strength. He stopped leading, stopped protecting boundaries, stopped maintaining the self that once inspired her respect. And the woman, sensing this unconsciously, drifts away. Not always in anger, sometimes quietly, almost without knowing why. Even in dating, the principle holds. Men who chase, plead, or overcommit too soon are rarely admired. Women feel it, instinctively, and admiration fades. But the man who remains whole, who loves without dependence, who can walk away if necessary, commands attention. Not because he plays a game, but because he embodies the rarest quality in a world of compromise: self-respect. Jung's insight is merciless, but liberating. Respect is earned through strength, not sacrifice. Love is deepened through freedom, not surrender. If a man cannot walk away, he has already lost the inner authority that creates attraction, admiration, and trust. Without this authority, his presence is tolerated, not cherished. His devotion is a plea, not a gift, and a plea, no matter how sincere, is never respected. The tragedy of modern man is that many discover this lesson too late. After years of surrender, after decades of devotion, after the quiet erosion of their dignity, they realize that no amount of gifts, affection, or compliance can restore respect once it is lost. Jung's warning, though uncomfortable, is a call to action. Preserve yourself or lose everything worth having. So what does it mean to reclaim your strength? It means standing firm in your identity, even in the face of desire and attachment. It means pursuing your mission, your goals, and your growth with the same intensity you once reserved for love. It means loving fully without losing yourself. It means being willing to walk away, not as a threat, but as proof that your life is not contingent on her approval. Only the man who can walk away embodies the paradox of true power: vulnerability with boundaries, devotion with independence, love without surrender. This is the man who commands respect, inspires admiration, and experiences connection on a level that weak men can only imagine. Ask yourself now, are you the man who can walk away, or the man who clings until respect is gone? The choice is yours, and the consequences are permanent. Because love without respect is not love. It is weakness, and weakness, once revealed, cannot be hidden, nor can it ever regain what it has lost. The time to reclaim yourself is now. If this video spoke to you, if it challenged the way you think about strength, respect, and love, make sure to subscribe. We explore ideas that most people are too afraid to face, and your subscription helps us continue uncovering these truths. If you want to go even deeper, support us on Patreon. Every supporter strengthens this community of thinking men and women and ensures we can keep delivering content that changes the way you see the world. Because knowledge is powerful, but only if you act on it.